Before the night fully settles in, pause for a moment and notice something. The warmth around you is fragile. It depends on switches, systems, and constant energy. The moment they stop, the comfort disappears. Now imagine a winter night centuries ago. No electricity, no thermostat, no emergency backup. The fire fades. The room goes quiet. And yet, the house stays warm until morning. This wasn't luck. It wasn't endurance. And it certainly wasn't burning more fuel. It was understanding. Medieval builders knew something modern homes forgot. Heat is not meant to be chased hour after hour. It is meant to be captured once, slowed down, and protected by design. They built homes that worked while people slept, walls that remembered warmth, hearths that continued giving long after flames were gone, spaces shaped to keep heat alive instead of letting it escape. What you are about to hear is not a story about the past. It is a lesson hidden in stone and earth, a quiet system that turned a few evening hours of fire into an entire night of comfort. And once you understand this medieval heat trick, you will realize something unsettling. Modern homes don't fail because winter is harsh. They fail because they were never designed to hold warmth in the first place. Heat was stored, not produced all night. Medieval people did not try to keep fires alive through the night because they understood something deeply practical that modern living ignores. Fire was dangerous. Fire demanded attention. Fire consumed resources even when no one was awake to benefit from it. Letting flames burn while everyone slept was wasteful and risky, so they rejected that idea entirely. Instead, they treated heat like a harvest, something you collect deliberately, at the right time, and store with care. The fire burned strongest in the evening when the house was active. Meals were prepared, tools were cleaned, hands moved, bodies gathered. Every action happened while the fire was doing its work. During those hours, the house itself was being charged. Heat moved into stone walls, thick floors, heavy hearths, and clay surfaces. These materials absorbed warmth slowly, quietly, without rushing. Nothing escaped. Nothing was wasted. The home was storing energy, not just feeling warm. When the fire finally faded, nothing collapsed. There was no sudden cold, no panic. The warmth stayed because it had already been locked into the structure. Long after the flames disappeared, the walls continued to release heat gently, hour by hour, through the night. The fire rested, but the house kept working. Modern homes depend on constant input. The moment heat stops, everything falls apart. Rooms cool quickly. Systems restart. Energy is burned just to maintain comfort. Medieval homes were calm because they were already prepared. The warmth had been earned earlier, stored patiently, and released slowly. The work was finished before sleep began. Walls were designed to hold time. Medieval walls were never meant to respond quickly. Speed was not the goal. Endurance was. Stone, clay, and packed earth were chosen because they could hold warmth, the way a reservoir holds water. Slowly filling, slowly emptying. A thick wall did not warm up instantly, and that was the point. Heat entered it over hours, not minutes. But once inside, it refused to leave. A medieval wall could be several feet thick, not for strength alone, but for patience. The outer surface faced cold air, wind, and frost. The inner mass stayed protected. Heat had to travel through layers of stone and earth before escaping, and by the time it reached the outside, night was already passing. This is why medieval homes felt steady instead of dramatic. There were no sharp temperature swings, no sudden drops. The wall acted like a time delay. What happened in the evening was still being felt at dawn. Modern walls are thin and hollow. They warm fast and cool faster. They hold almost no memory. The moment heating stops, the warmth vanishes. Medieval walls remembered. They carried yesterday's fire into the present moment. Those walls were not just boundaries, they were clocks. Every inch of thickness added time to warmth. Every layer slowed loss. Heat did not disappear. It aged slowly, lingering through the night, released at a human pace. That is what modern homes lost, not insulation alone. Time itself. The hearth was the thermal heart. The hearth was never just a place to burn wood. It was the core of the entire home. Every decision around it was deliberate. In medieval houses, the hearth was often placed deep inside the structure, not pushed against an outer wall. This mattered. Heat generated at the center had nowhere to escape quickly. Instead of bleeding into the night air, it spread inward, soaking into stone, floors, and surrounding walls. The home was built around the hearth because the hearth powered the home. The hearth itself was massive, thick stone, heavy masonry, sometimes layered with clay and lime. These materials absorbed enormous amounts of heat during cooking and evening activity. Flames rose, pots boiled. People moved around it for hours. All the while, the stone was quietly storing energy. When the fire finally died down, the hearth did not become cold. It became a slow, steady source of warmth. The stone radiated heat gently, without smoke, without noise, without effort. Long after embers faded, the hearth continued working through the night. Modern fireplaces are often decorative or inefficient. Heat goes up the chimney and out of the house. Medieval hearths were designed to do the opposite. They trapped warmth, fed the structure, and released heat where people lived and slept. The hearth was not a feature, it was a system. The fire was temporary, the stone was permanent, and that stone turned hours of flame into an entire night of warmth. Small spaces kept heat alive. Medieval homes were not small because people accepted discomfort. They were small because people understood heat. Warmth is fragile in large spaces. The more volume a room has, the more energy it takes to keep it comfortable. Medieval builders avoided that problem entirely. They reduced space on purpose. Rooms were compact, ceilings were low, corridors were narrow. Every design choice reduced the amount of air that needed to be warmed. Low ceilings mattered more than most people realize. Warm air rises. In tall rooms, heat floats away from where people live. Medieval ceilings kept warmth close to the body, where it actually mattered. Nothing was allowed to drift upward and disappear. Doors were heavy, openings were minimal. Windows were small and often covered at night. Drafts were the enemy, and every effort was made to slow moving air. Tapestries, wooden panels, and thick curtains were not decoration. They were insulation. They softened cold walls and trapped heat inside living spaces. Families arranged their lives around warmth. Sleeping areas were chosen carefully. Many people slept near the hearth or directly above kitchens, where rising heat warmed floors naturally. Heat was allowed to move upward only when it served a purpose. Modern homes chase openness and size. Medieval homes protected warmth. By keeping spaces small and intentional, heat stayed alive longer, moved slower, and lasted through the night without effort. The earth was used as insulation. Medieval builders did not treat the ground as an obstacle. They treated it as protection. Many homes were partially set into hillsides or built with walls pressed directly against the earth. This was not crude construction. It was intelligent use of a natural advantage. The soil around a home holds a steady temperature year-round. While air changes rapidly with wind and nightfall, the earth remains slow and stable. By placing walls against the ground, medieval homes shielded themselves from cold winds and sudden temperature drops. Those walls did not face frost or night air. They faced earth, and earth does not steal heat quickly. The ground acted as a massive insulating blanket. Heat loss slowed dramatically. Even when winter air dropped below freezing, earth protected interior walls from sharp cold. The house lost warmth gradually instead of suddenly. Floors were often built directly on packed soil or stone. This created a stable thermal base. Heat absorbed during the day stayed close. There were no hollow cavities pulling warmth away. The house rested on something solid and patient. Modern homes lift themselves away from the ground. Air flows underneath. Cold circulates freely. Medieval homes anchored themselves. They leaned into the land and let it carry part of the burden. The earth did not produce heat. It preserved it, and that quiet preservation made nights survivable without fire. Fire was timed with intelligence. Medieval people did not burn fire out of habit. They burned it with intention. Fire was strongest when it could be fully used. Evenings were planned around it. Cooking happened while flames were high. Work was done nearby. People gathered, talked, repaired tools, and prepared for rest. Every moment of burning served multiple purposes at once. This timing mattered. Heat was not wasted on empty rooms or sleeping bodies. It was released when walls, floors, and hearths were ready to absorb it. The structure was charged at the exact moment it could hold the most warmth. By the time people prepared for sleep, the fire had already done its job. There was no need to keep feeding it. No one woke in the night to tend flames. No fuel was burned for no benefit. The heat was already stored inside the house. Modern systems run constantly because the building itself holds very little warmth. Medieval homes held heat well, so fire could rest. This reduced wood use, lowered risk, and created predictable comfort. Fire was not a background noise. It was a scheduled event, and when it ended, the warmth remained. Materials were chosen for memory. Medieval builders chose materials that could remember warmth. That memory was everything. Stone, clay, brick, and lime plaster were not selected at random. These materials absorb heat slowly and hold it deep inside their mass. Once warmed, they do not rush to release it. They let it go gradually, hour by hour, long after the fire is gone. Wood was used carefully. It burns well, but forgets heat quickly. Stone does the opposite. It may take time to warm, but once it does, it stays warm. Medieval homes surrounded their fires with materials that could hold that energy and release it gently through the night. Walls were coated in lime plaster not only for protection, but for thermal stability. Floors were stone or packed earth for the same reason. Every surface near heat was chosen to slow change, not accelerate it. This created a different kind of comfort. Temperatures did not spike or crash. They shifted slowly, giving the body time to adjust. Warmth felt steady, not artificial. Modern materials respond instantly and forget just as fast. Medieval materials remembered, and that memory carried families safely through the cold hours until morning. Comfort came from design, not consumption. Medieval warmth did not come from burning more fuel. It came from thinking more carefully. Comfort was built into the structure long before winter arrived. Walls were thick. Rooms were intentional. Hearths were placed with purpose. Materials were chosen for patience. Fire was used at the right time, not all the time. Nothing depended on constant input. This meant warmth was predictable. There was no anxiety about running out of fuel in the middle of the night. No systems to restart, no sudden drops in temperature. The house itself carried the responsibility. Modern comfort is consumption-driven. When heat fades, energy must be added immediately. The structure does not help. It leaks warmth and demands constant correction. Medieval homes asked less because they were designed to do more. Every medieval house was a lesson in restraint. Instead of overpowering nature, builders worked with it. They slowed heat loss, they reduced exposure, they accepted limits and designed within them. Comfort was quiet, invisible, lasting, and that is the final lesson. True warmth is not something you buy more of. It is something you design correctly once and let work for you every night. The medieval home was not warm because people suffered less. It was warm because they understood more. They did not chase heat through the night. They captured it early. They slowed it down. They protected it with stone, earth, and patience. Every wall held time. Every hearth worked after the fire slept. Every room was shaped to keep warmth where life actually happened. Modern life teaches us to consume more when comfort disappears. Medieval life teaches something harder and wiser. Design first, then rest. Because when warmth is built into the structure, elegance replaces effort, and the night passes without struggle.